Top 10 influential albums that bombed. Number 10, The Kings, the Village Green Preservation Society. In 1968, year after the fabled Summer of Love, one of the biggest and best bands in England released this concept album based around a series of nostalgic events and characters. Its sales were disastrous. So, in the list of influential albums, number 9, Velvet Underground. The Velvet Underground, though the Velvet Underground famously sold few albums in their time, their first two efforts did creep into the top 200 of the American charts. Their third album and their first without John Cale did not even make it that far. So, number 8, Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. Through this album has sold 3 million copies. It has taken 50 years to do so. To put this figure into perspective, the Michael Jackson album Thriller has sold 27 million copies in half the time. Number 7, Nick Drake, 5 Leaves Left. One of the best folk albums of all time. This was the legendary Nick Drake's first record. None of his albums are really sold, but now critics consider all three as modern day classics, and Nick Drake and Kurt Cobain of folk. Number 6, Wire, Pink Flag. This album contains 23 punk pop songs. At its total running time is less than 30 minutes. R.E.M. covered the excellent Strange on their album Document, but Pink Flag is full of great pop songs. Number 5, My Bloody Valentine. It's not anything. My Bloody Valentine has come to the forefront popular culture recently, making a number of appearances on the Lost in Translation soundtrack. Isn't it anything? Is their first album and one of the best British indie albums ever. Number 4, Robert Johnson, King of the Delta Blues Singers. Keith Richards was probably the only person who bought this record when it came out in 1961. He played it to Mike Jagger and Brian Jones, and they went on to form the Rolling Stones, together popularizing rhythm and blues and paving the way for the British blues movement in the 60s. Number 3, Richard and Linda Thompson, I Want to See the Bright Lights Tonight. You would have thought after his success with the Fairport Convention that Richard Thompson's name alone could sell a few albums. Unfortunately, his first solo record, Henry the Human Fly, was panned by the critics. Which certainly did not help the sales of the second effort. Number 2, Iggy Pop and the Stooges, Funhouse. We would see the influence of this album 7 years after its release with the explosion of punk. Recorded live in the studio, Funhouse sounds more raw and angry than anything the Sex Pistols were ever recorded. Number 1, Pixels, Surfer Rosa. The famous track on Surfer Rosa is Where Is My Mind, played over the end credits of this film Fight Club. It is an unconventional track but still relatively commercial. It is surprising this album did not sell more. So these are the top 10 influential albums that bombed.